What to make of this Facebook interrogation?
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
You know, it's really interesting, the challenge of finding an expert on the Facebook testimony that Mark Zuckerberg is offering the last couple of days is like finding a needle in a haystack. Thankfully, we found a needle. We've got a professor who is over at PC and has his own, law business, who is carving out more than his own niche, discussing all of these social media and legal issues. And surprisingly, or you may be surprised, he shut his own Facebook account down, I think, as many experts are doing, which should give you some pause. So we shall meet him coming up momentarily. Great to have you in on this Wednesday evening. Developments in Washington. The headline here, Paul Ryan says no mas, it's all about family time. It's always about family time, right?
I did not seek this job. I took it reluctantly, but I have given this job everything that I have. And I have no regrets whatsoever for having accepted this responsibility.
No, I think that's probably true, but one could also say bull dinky, in the sense that he has had a turbulent ride with this president. Who wouldn't? And he's probably sick and tired of having to eat crow, acquiesce, support concepts that he really doesn't support, while he's trying to move an agenda that he thinks is correct, and the president couldn't write organically if his life depended on it. And I think they all know the getting out is getting good because they're going to get clobbered in the fall. Clobbered. And it's just inevitable, and he doesn't want any part of it. So it's regroup time for the Republican Party amidst everything that the president has to deal with. Of course, the president's tweeting about what kind of good guy he is, of course. Speaker Ryan's a truly good man, and while he is not seeking re-election, he'll leave a legacy of achievement that nobody can question. Really? Well, you let me know what that legacy is. And, a judge and a tax cut that is yet to be proven to be an economic boon. We'll see. You may think I sound like some kind of lefty liberal. You know what? I'm smack trying to figure it out day to day here. But there's no legacy. There's no legacy. And the president knows that. He has to, he doesn't even know what anyway, don't even get me started. We got to move along here. Guns, 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 and what we do about it. Front page of the Providence Journal today, Eyewitness News, on some decisions by a House committee yesterday to make some changes.
Marching into the State House and chanting inside. Hundreds of people descending on Smith Hill Tuesday as lawmakers weigh bills on abortion and gun control.
We think it's really extreme.
Victor Bergeron Jr. of Rhode Island Right to Life joined by numerous supporters and met by opponents as the House Judiciary Committee hears testimony on abortion-related bills like the so-called Reproductive Health Care Act, which would put into state law the right to have an abortion even if Roe v. Wade is repealed.
The U.S. Supreme Court has protected women and families for 50 years. Now I think we must act to protect ourselves here in Rhode Island.
Why push something that the Supreme Court has not touched? It's not necessary.
I am here to make sure that the law does not make it so that we aren't focusing on a woman's life and women's safety.
Women deserve more. And with this Reproductive Health Care Act, we would undoubtedly be settling for less.
It's politics entering the field of medicine, and then politics presuming a lot of things about family dynamics.
The testimony coming after a vote on another hot topic, gun control. A bill to ban bump stocks and an amended version of the red flag law meant to keep guns out of the hands of potentially dangerous people, both sailing through committee as Second Amendment proponents chanted just outside.
It got to the point where twice the committee members had to come outside and ask us to be quiet because they just could not hear inside of it. And even with that, they ignored us and they passed the bills.
Those bills now head to the full House for a vote.
All right, so a little bit of guns and a little bit of the abortion battle, which continues to, I wouldn't say rage on in this country, but crawl on. Hey, listen, the red flag legislation is good. Acute work by the legislature will be wholly more important than the governor's flapping her gums all over this notion that she's going to executive order any progress. All she wants to do is grab a headline and put something on her resume for national recognition, hardly even re-election. In the meantime, speaking of re-election and the guy that she'll be running against, Alan Fung put his economic plan out today. He wants to cut taxes to 5% on a gradual basis. That would be sales tax. He's finally starting to take some notes from the Dan York show, which is to be competitive as all get out and be a percentage point or less, or a quarter of a percentage point, or at least an nth of a point less on every major tax issue than our neighbors are, so that Rhode Island actually is looked upon as something that is going on, and we're shaking it up and we're creating fertile ground for all rather than targeting and creating winners and losers. Alan, good work. We might move you from B- candidate to B. You never know what the opportunities are out there. We shall have him in soon, correct? To talk about all of this. I like to kid the mayor from time to time. Anyway, what happened in Washington yesterday? Headline here, Mark Zuckerberg got called in, and by all accounts, people who are smarter about this than I am, and there are many, they think he did a pretty good job. And our professor is here, local lawyer, Brian Lamoureux, who I found yesterday on the radio to be pretty sharp on these issues. Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
In the next segment, we'll talk about how you get smart on these things and how you end up advising and teaching on all this, because it's an interesting story. But give me the executive summary on what you think he did yesterday. And I know he was testifying today on the House side. Yesterday was the Senate side. By your tweets, I think you think he did a pretty good job.
I do. He was the smartest person in the room yesterday, and he knew it, and I think he sensed it early on that the questions he was getting from the senators, he was outmatching them. And I think that he was so well prepared. He had bullet point lists of what his team is doing. He knew what he needed to get back to the committee on with technical follow-up. And I think he sensed that his platform's not going anywhere, and if there's going to be regulation slapped on it, it's not going to be harmful to the brand. The market felt the same way, up 4.5%, and Zuckerberg's net worth increased $3 billion yesterday. So I think it was a better day than you and I had.
That's unbelievable. I mean, the zeros and commas are amazing in this world. I think it's kind of interesting. Was it yesterday in the Senate or today? The days run together for me. At least one interrogator asked what his thoughts on how he should be regulated. When you get to that point, at least in a public discussion about how I should regulate you, it's game, set, match, isn't it?
Game over. If a judge asked me how should I rule, I chuckle to myself and take the next 10 minutes to say why the judge should rule that way. And judges are interesting because they are intellectually curious and really want to know both sides. But when you have the person you are grilling in front of you and you're giving them the opportunity to frame the narrative, as we say in the business, I think that's a challenge. And maybe it was just an honest way of getting Zuckerberg's ideas on it, but it's a bad look.
I do that behind closed doors. I might say, hey, listen, man, we know that you're the creator, you're the genius, you know where every nook and cranny and body is buried in this situation, and we're on a curve here. So tell me what you think is the wise way to regulate you. You can do that behind closed doors. Right. I don't know that you do that in the hearing. Right. You know, but be that as it may. All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit how you get smart about this kind of issue, review some of the specifics that were discussed, and ask the question which may be unanswerable. Where do we go from here? Stay with us. Yeah, so even old Mark Zuckerberg had to admit today that his data was also, borrowed, used, taken hostage, sold. I'm not sure. I think we're a little confused about what is actually at stake here and what the transactional issues are. So Brian and I will talk about that in a second. But just to recap what happened yesterday, here's the latest.
Tech companies.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg returned to Capitol Hill as lawmakers grilled him for a second day about his company's failure to protect the private information of 87 million Facebook users. Today, House Energy and Commerce Committee members fired off the questions.
Do you think you have a moral responsibility to run a platform that protects our democracy? Yes or no?
Congresswoman, yes.
Is that data that is mined for security purposes also used to sell as part of the business model?
Today's testimony follows nearly 5 hours of answers and apologies from the 33-year-old CEO about how private data mining company Cambridge Analytica acquired and used Facebook users' private information during the 2016 election and why Facebook allowed it to happen. Questioning went along similar lines today.
Why is the onus on the user to opt in to privacy?
As I said, every time that a person chooses to share something on Facebook, they're proactively going to the service and choosing that they want to share a photo, write a message to someone.
Representatives wanted assurance companies like Cambridge Analytica never breach users' trust again.
We need to learn how Facebook was caught so flat-footed in 2016.
Zuckerberg said he believes regulation of his industry is inevitable. Last week, he admitted fixing Facebook's problems could take years.
I'm not sure what Zuckerberg is admitting to flat-footed stature on. If it's just that some data was mined out of his platform, if it's the political ramifications and the international implications that are derived from the fake news stream that wove through during the election, that's a whole nother matter. What do you think?
I think the core business model of Facebook is sound. I think they're getting banged up on the edges and on the margins of these issues, politics, elections, privacy, that he's trying to rub off. And he's just really trying to say, no, the core business model, no one's going to do anything with that because everyone wants Facebook. But if you need me to do some things on the election side and make it clear that it's a paid ad, well, I can do an algorithm for that.
Well, you say something very provocative there. Everyone wants Facebook. I don't. I don't. In fact, I'm canceling all personal accounts, most of which are dormant anyway. I got 2 of them. Don't try looking for them because they'll be gone by the time you see them probably, or see the show. I mean, we use it for the brand Dan York, show between the television and the radio for utility purposes, for listeners to know what we're doing here. So I don't damn the whole thing, but from the way my family uses it, to the way people have changed behavior, the attacks, the politics, everyone's got keyboard courage, all of that garbage, my take. Where do you think the flow is going to go now that he got a little roughed up?
I don't think anything's going to change. I have a very.
So I'm an outlier.
Oh, well, I'm with you because I deleted my Facebook account years ago when it became clear and known that Facebook was sharing connections, in other words, data between real-life purchases that people were making in response to ads they saw on the platform. So I saw 4 or 5 years ago that they were starting to connect an ad that they placed on the platform and then partnered with a company called Datalogics to track whether I went and made a purchase using a rewards card, right? You know the rewards cards on your keychain? That's when I realized that this is more than just a laptop. This is now real-life influence.
Well, look, let me jump ahead. I'm going to circle back to some discussions about Facebook specifically, but it reminds me that Brian offered a kind of, I wouldn't say it's a doomsday scenario, but it's certainly something 3, 4, 5 years from now. You warned yesterday on the radio, really stunned me, about where you think this whole thing is going in terms of this data sharing and everything else. Offer that story again about jumping on the scale and going to the fridge and all that kind of thing. It was fascinating.
Yeah, that's the analogy that I think works well. You have these connected devices, which is called the Internet of Things. Internet of Things basically means any device that connects to the Internet and shares data. Thermostats do it, senses movement, senses temperature settings, senses and concludes when you're home and when you're not home. Think about that for a second. And scales measure, obviously, weight. There's Wi-Fi connectivity with the hub in the home telling you how much your weight is each day. Smart fridges can measure when the door is open, how much water is being used. Well, if you have a smart algorithm looking at all those data points, you can draw a mosaic, I call it, of data that suggests that maybe someone is diabetic, pre-diabetic, an insomniac, right? And because you're drinking more, you're drinking in the middle of the night. Oh, and I forgot to mention the smart toilet that's out in Tokyo that measures sugar levels and ketones in the urine. When you take all of that together, Dan, that data doesn't lie, and I can guarantee you health insurance companies are dying to plug into that data stream.
And they might, you said something really fascinating in addition to that, they might give you a little discount to get access to that information, and then come when they do a profile on you, whack you on a premium like it's going out of style, because all of a sudden you look more risky than you did just on paper.
The slide I put up in my presentations is I put up a fake email that says, "Dear Brian, we've looked at your data and we've made an appointment for your doctor. If you don't meet this appointment, your rates will increase." That email is coming. It's 5 years, it's 6 years, because that's how the businesses make money, is by determining risk and underwriting those who aren't risky.
Quick minute before we get back to the Facebook future. How'd you get so smart about this stuff? And give us the quick 90 seconds on how you started teaching a class on all of this.
I got into this by picking up the phone on the afternoon of, I think it was a Thursday or a Friday. A producer from a local news channel said, "We need a lawyer to come on TV right now to talk about a Facebook story." I don't even remember the story, but I was down in Cranston. I had an earpiece in my ear, and I was talking about a Facebook story 4 or 5 years ago. A few days later, I get a voicemail from someone saying, "I saw you on the air. I need to hire you. I have a problem." And then it occurred to me, no one was doing what I was doing. No one was diving into the policy issues, the privacy issues, the compliance issues for companies. So I started to speak. I started to get the reputation.
Technical platform implications,
Right.
meaning
Right.
the problems of privacy and security sponsored by technology, platforms, social media, all that.
And it fit within my employment law practice. So I had clients calling with employee issues on social media, and it just sort of grew. And as I spoke more and more, I just ended up being out there more and more. And it's just grown into, as you said yesterday, a niche.
And you're talking to students about it. You're actually teaching a class at PC that you couldn't find a syllabus for.
No, I tried to do what all good professors do, is trade off someone else's work, and I couldn't find it. So I put it together, and it changes every year because it just gets stale. And what I found fascinating doing this year...
Stale, you mean obsolete?
Obsolete. I have links from 3 years ago. But then I realized when I was doing this round, I need to keep some of those links because it's fascinating to read about what people were saying in 2012 about Facebook, for example, and what we're talking about today.
What are the differences?
It's cyclical. Facebook it's more noise. It's not signal. Your privacy is always a concern. I have a law from 2001 that Congress tried to implement about privacy. We're hearing the same things yesterday about what Congress tried to do 17 years ago, and they couldn't get it done because of a very interesting reason.
Which is?
9/11.
Meaning?
There was a website called toysmart.com that had 200,000 mailing list members. They wanted to sell it when they were in bankruptcy as an asset. The FTC went crazy, and Congress went crazy and proposed a law that would protect all of us, our online privacy and all of our data. And then 6 months later, 9/11 happened. We got the Patriot Act, and the rest is history. And this law never passed. And this is exactly what they're debating today of what they're trying to do. It's fascinating.
All right. When we come back, we'll try to project what Congress could actually scratch together here, if anything. Stay with us.
Facebook has been done considerable reputational damage.
And why didn't Facebook notify 87 million users that their personally identifiable information had been taken?
We need to take a more proactive role and a broader view of our responsibility.
If there's, I do a little crisis management work on the side. Yeah, I'm a busy guy. If you need some help, let me know. Somebody got Zuckerberg in the exact right place. He takes ownership over, as you said, the screaming on the edges that our own senator's doing and others, all looking like they're totally responsive to this thing that happened. He's taking, the mea culpa approach, offering very little detail. They have very little acumen to actually pierce this whole thing. And he'll walk away with what? A law proposed of some kind? Just an exercise and a deep breath that everybody feels like at least we tried? What do you think?
He's going to get to next week's news cycle, and he's going to sigh. He's not going to get a comprehensive congressional bill that's going to do anything meaningful on his business model. He is going to, in his defense, he and his team have been putting together a very rapid set of press releases in their press room about what they're doing, and so I think they're attacking it exactly the right way.
The game aside, the game of handling this aside, is his product problematic for the general welfare of the country and the world?
No. It's only problematic if it's misused and hurts our elections and misleads consumers and offends people's sense of privacy.
So legislation that is in the hopper, not necessarily encompassing all of the Facebook technology, but requiring identity for advertising, political advertising, that I think he's acquiesced to in the last couple of weeks. That will probably happen.
Absolutely. FTC has for years been pounding the drum about disclosure. All FTC cares about, and I think it's a great middle road, is disclosure. If you're going to endorse someone or something, all you have to do is disclose. Let the consumer figure it out. So I think that's smart.
Well, it'd be interesting if they actually put more pressure on Facebook than they do on the broadcasters, because there's some wiggle room that the broadcasters actually have been playing with for a long time on that. Congress generally will look at this kind of thing and be a slow slog and will always be chasing the obsolete trail, right, and trying to legislate, you know, in concurrence with the technology. I don't know if they'll get there. But the public in general always goes like this. Boom. They all of a sudden they say, we don't like something, and they go away, and the market changes. Is there something about this story that will resonate with the Facebook users, like you, like me, that have shut it off across the board, that'll end this game?
No. And the best, I'll give you a little insight. Steve Wozniak, former founder of Apple, he emailed a bunch of news outlets and said he deactivated his Facebook account. I found the word deactivated interesting because I know the difference between deactivation and deletion. Deletion means you wipe it and Facebook rolls it off their servers and it's gone. Deactivation means you basically just pull down a shade and the world can't see you, but your stuff is still there. And I had to dig some articles out and confirmed he merely deactivated because he didn't want to lose his name. He didn't want to lose the name. So I understand. Even he didn't delete his Facebook data. So I don't think we're going to have that domino that falls. I think it's too big. I think Facebook is too nimble, and I think it's so ingrained into our communications.
Yeah, but you know what I was told, and we only have a half a minute, I could talk to you all day. I was told by a lot of my daughter and daughter's friends that Facebook is obsolete. They're on the Instagram and they're on the, it's really us geezers that are kind of using it more because it's about the best we can comprehend. Yeah, short answer?
You say geezers, I say institutions. I think Facebook has entrenched itself as just so large that it's not going to go anywhere. Instagram is where the kids are, Snapchat's where the kids are, Facebook's not going anywhere.
All right, we'll post the information on how you could jostle the attorney for your own needs and try to navigate this technological world on our website, of course, at foxprovidence.com. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Really informative. When we come back, final word and a preview of what's still to come this week. Stay with us. I don't know, by the time you've seen this, maybe there are missiles flying. I don't know. We tape in the early afternoon each weekday, so your guess is as good as mine. But tomorrow we'll have the president of the Naval War College out of Newport to kind of talk to us about what they do down there, and I'm sure we'll extract some thoughts about our next response in Syria and beyond from the Admiral. So be here for that. We'll see you on the radio at 3 until 6 on WPRO. Pleasure to have you. Thanks for checking in.